Sammy the Snail's Slow and Steady Adventure. Once upon a time, in a lush green garden filled with dewy leaves, colorful flowers, and buzzing bees, there lived a little snail named Sammy. Sammy was no ordinary snail. He had a shiny spiral shell that glistened in the sunlight, and he loved to explore the world around him. But there was one thing that made Sammy special. He was very, very slow. And that was just the way he liked it. Every morning, Sammy would peek out of his cozy shell, stretch at his tiny tentacles, and say, "Good morning, world! Today is a brand new day for adventure." He didn't mind that the ants scurried past him in a hurry or that the butterflies fluttered by in a flash. Sammy knew that his journey was his own, and he was determined to enjoy every moment of it. Chapter 1: The Garden Awakens. One sunny morning, Sammy decided to explore the far side of the garden. He had never been there before, and he was curious about what he might find. As he slid along the damp soil, he noticed the world around him in a way that no one else did. "Oh, look at that," Sammy said, stopping to admire a sparkling dewdrop on a blade of grass. "It's like a tiny rainbow." He took his time to gaze at the way the light danced through the droplet, casting little rainbows on the ground. A bumblebee zoomed by and called out, "Hurry up, Sammy, there's so much to see." But Sammy just smiled and replied, "I'm in no rush. There's so much beauty right here." Chapter 2: Meeting New Friends. As Sammy continued his journey, he met a family of ladybugs playing hide-and-seek among the flowers. "Hello, Sammy," said the littlest ladybug. "Do you want to play with us?" Sammy chuckled. "I'd love to, but I'm afraid I'm too slow for hide-and-seek. How about I watch and cheer you on instead?" The ladybugs giggled and agreed. Sammy watched as they darted from flower to flower, their red and black spots shining in the sun. He clapped his tentacles when the littlest ladybug found the best hiding spot. "Well done," he cheered. Next, Sammy met a caterpillar named Charlie who was munching on a big green leaf. "Hi, Sammy," Charlie said between bites. "Where are you off to?" "I'm exploring the garden," Sammy replied. "Would you like to join me?" Charlie shook his head. "I'm too busy eating. I need to grow big and strong so I can become a butterfly someday." Sammy nodded. "That sounds exciting. I'll see you when you're all grown up." Chapter 3: The Rainy Detour. Just as Sammy was about to reach the far side of the garden, dark clouds rolled in and it began to rain. The other animals hurried to find shelter, but Sammy simply tucked himself into his shell and waited. He loved the sound of the raindrops tapping on his shell. It was like nature's lullaby. When the rain stopped, the garden smelled fresh and clean. Sammy peeked out of his shell and saw a beautiful rainbow stretching across the sky. "Wow," he whispered. "I'm so glad I took my time. I would have missed this if I'd rushed." Chapter 4: The Big Hill. The next part of Sammy's journey was a big hill. It was steep and covered in soft moss. Sammy knew it would take him a long time to climb, but he was determined to reach the top. As he inched his way up, a grasshopper hopped by and said, "Need a lift, Sammy? I can carry you to the top in no time." Sammy smiled. "Thank you, but I want to climb it myself. It's part of the adventure." The grasshopper shrugged and hopped away. Sammy kept going, one slow slide at a time. Along the way, he noticed tiny mushrooms growing in the shade and a family of worms wriggling through the soil. He even found a shiny pebble that he decided to keep as a souvenir. When Sammy finally reached the top of the hill, he felt proud of himself. He looked out over the garden and saw everything from a new perspective. "It's so beautiful up here," he said. "I'm glad I didn't give up." Chapter 5: The Far Side of the Garden. At last, Sammy reached the far side of the garden. It was even more wonderful than he had imagined. There were tall sunflowers, buzzing bees, and a little pond with lily pads floating on the surface. Sammy spent the rest of the day exploring this new place. He met a friendly frog who taught him how to croak, a dragonfly who showed him how to balance on a reed, and a family of ducks who let him ride on their backs across the pond. As the sun began to set, Sammy found a cozy spot under a sunflower to rest. He looked back on his day and smiled. "I may be slow," he said to himself, "but I've seen so many amazing things. Taking my time made the journey even better." Chapter 6: The Lesson of Patience. The next morning, Sammy began his journey back home. Along the way, he met the same animals he had seen the day before. They were all amazed by the stories he told and the treasures he had found. "You're so lucky, Sammy," said the littlest ladybug. "You get to see everything," Sammy nodded. "It's not about being fast or slow. It's about enjoying the journey and noticing the little things along the way." From that day on, the other animals in the garden learned to slow down and appreciate the world around them, just like Sammy. And Sammy, he continued to explore at his own pace, always finding joy in the slow and steady adventure of life. The end lesson for little ones, dear little reader, Sammy the Snail teaches us that it's okay to take our time. Whether we're exploring a garden, learning something new, or just enjoying the day, the journey is just as important as the destination. So let's be like Sammy, slow and steady, patient and curious, and always ready to find joy in the little things. After all, life is an adventure meant to be savored, one tiny step at a time.